Good evening. Thank you. My name is Carol D'Souza, and I am honored to be tonight's Mistress of Ceremonies. The first time I've been a mistress without a paycheck. Okay.
She's starting already.
That comment was not in the comments that they approved on Tuesday. Okay. Can you imagine giving me the microphone for 2 minutes for introductions? I need longer than 2 minutes to just adjust myself here. Tonight I am honored to be at this podium with the 2013 awardees. This is a special evening, and as I found out last year, a very meaningful award in people's lives. So Unico employees have shined up the plaque next door, and make sure you visit the Boston State Room right next door to us. 4 more names have been added for this evening's event. The buildings on Huntington Avenue, the Fenway, and the Campus Center are just that, buildings. Tonight we discuss the heart and soul of Boston State College. You can move buildings, change locations, but you can't change the spirit, as tonight will show. As one who knows that the fastest way to succeed is to look as if you're playing by the other people's rules while quietly playing by your own. And tonight's honorees are also those people who succeeded by doing the same. I would like to first introduce my old boss. I didn't have written remarks when I was working for you, but I better read these. Chancellor Motley brings tremendous passion to the university's mission and has extraordinary and compelling vision for its future. For most of you sitting in this room tonight, I don't need to read that, and I don't need to say that. Appointed in 2007, Dr. Keith Motley is the 8th Chancellor of the University of Massachusetts, Boston. He is currently overseeing a newly launched and highly ambitious strategic planning initiative that reflects the university's determination to remain true to its origins as a teaching institution while enhancing its standing in research, preparing its students to succeed in transnational world, graduating significantly greater numbers to meet increasing demand for a well-educated workforce, and similarly growing as a source of knowledge and public service. Chancellor Motley leads an institute. Hi, Dan. You want to read? Did you really do all these things? Because I got to read them. He leads an institution with approximately 16,000 undergraduate and graduate students, a full-time and part-time faculty of more than 1,000, a $323 million annual budget. During his tenure, student financial aid has increased over 123%. Faculty research spending has grown to nearly $56 million, and
that's a collective woo right there.
And private development funding has grown by nearly 200%.
Let me sit down.
Additionally, under his leadership, the university has earned recognition by the Princeton Review as one of the 150 best value colleges in the nation. I just want to add a personal note. Thanks to the Chancellor for seeing our vision for keeping the life and history of Boston State College alive and vibrant and meaningful for these many years. As one who knocked on his door and went in with ideas about the Boston State Room next door, the annual events, and this award for excellence, along with my fellow committee members, many of whom are in the room tonight, I want you to know that Keith Motley is supportive of all of our efforts and has been from the start, and we really appreciate that. And so let me introduce not only my former boss, but my past and current friend, J. Keith Motley.
So, Carol, you're leaving things up here to vibrate. Ooh.
That's for my family.
Oh, my goodness. Well, isn't that something? Listen, let's give her a round of applause, even in advance. So we have to muzzle her, because if you haven't been to a retirement that she has, or to some special event on this campus where we've let her get loose and given her the freedom just to talk about people, she's amazing. But more importantly, she's been dedicated to this community for so long. And we're so grateful to her and to all of you for making sure that I personally can pay you back for all the time I snuck into Boston State to play basketball, even though I was down on Huntington Avenue at Northeastern University. For all the times I came up on your campus and was a little disruptive as a youngster and you didn't challenge me then, I feel that I at least owe you that. So my amnesty card has been passed in. You've given it to me, and I'm so grateful to you. I want to thank my family who just walked in the door, my lovely wife, Angela, and also she was able to drag out this evening, I see. She went that way? Oh, she went to study. That's good. My 8th grader, Jordan, is with her tonight as well. And so she's hiding in the back room, probably looking for chicken nuggets or something to eat. I know she's hungry. But listen, I am just so honored to be with you all tonight. Let me just start on a more serious note. As you know, the world has lost a great human being tonight. Nelson Mandela has passed away, and it would be almost, I couldn't stand here and not acknowledge that, you know, his journey to the ancestors tonight. And so I just wanted to say that, because every day at my office, he sort of stares over my shoulder, you know, his picture. And he's also an alum of this great university. He received an honorary degree from all of the campuses. We went to Africa and we gave it to him there. And so I'm just honored tonight that this legacy is one that's instilled in this campus, but in our students will be journeying to South Africa in January as part of the honors program for 14 days. One of our trustees, Reuben King Shaw, paid for them to go as part of the honors program. They'll go there to connect the dots between the first semester courses they've taken on what happens in the world and the interrelationship between epidemics, and then connect their experience of really looking at that in the community there in South Africa, then coming back and finishing the course. And they had to interview for this course, and a dozen students ended up in it, and we're so grateful for that. But now let's get back to the business at hand. It's my pleasure to co-host this event with the Boston State College Steering Committee, and to welcome all of you to Boston's great public research university in this beautiful city, the University of Massachusetts, Boston. It's great to be here with you as we mark the 7th. We've been doing this 7 times now. The 7th annual Boston State College celebration and the 6th anniversary of our Education for Service Awards. See, we started out just celebrating the first year, but in your spiritual, in the way that you would do things at Boston State, you decided that it should be more than just a celebration. We should celebrate your legacy through honoring the works of those that have gone on and understood what it meant when you talked about education for service. The notion of preparing someone now for a lifetime of contribution, and you're going to see some of those contributors tonight. And I'm so honored to stand here as they are honored tonight. I'm especially grateful to the members of the Boston State College Steering Committee for their voluntary leadership in their efforts in putting this event together. Thanks to them, We have established a wonderful tradition that I look forward to every year, that this community looks forward to every year, and I know that many of you in this room tell me every time I see you that you look forward to it every year. Know something. Your paraphernalia is available in the bookstore, right, Gina? Yes. I've been walking around all week with my Boston State College bag in my hand as I go from meeting to meeting to meeting, and I carry that around probably most days. I also want to begin by acknowledging the members of the University of Massachusetts Board of Visitors that are here with us. We're joined by Art Bose, Mary Doucette Dussault, and Tom Feenan. I would also like to recognize Alumni Association board members Connie Kaduzian and also Joe O'Brien, who are here. I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to the family and friends of our award recipients. Alumni Marie Fox, Ed Zaleskas, and also Michael Taylor and Bob Haynes. Thank you, family members, for being here tonight. Bob, I want to thank you for your service as a University of Massachusetts Board of Trustee member. For us, that was the time that we connected. And I remember going up to your old space that I used to visit with you across from the State House and look out. And we would look out. And then they had to look out because here you were coming. And I'm so grateful for, you know, how you champion our causes when you were a member of the board. But thank you all for coming out tonight and being a part of this wonderful event. Now, every year when we gather, there's a tremendous feeling of warmth and pride among the Boston State alumni, faculty, and the staff. Just as the college had a tremendous impact on your lives, its legacy also continues here at the University of Massachusetts, Boston. And I'm very proud of that. I'm proud that there's this seamless integration. It begins with Boston Normal School and moves up through, you know, Teachers College and State Teachers College and Boston State College to join itself with the University of Massachusetts, Boston. Some say that our legacy goes back beyond some folk out in the western part of our state. Some say that. I didn't say it, but it does. And I'm so proud of that history. That history is formally recognized next door in a wonderful room. And so get a chance, if you haven't, see it. Your college's influence can be seen in our College of Education and Human Development and in our College of Nursing and Health Sciences that have their origins on Huntington Avenue. It also lives in the classrooms, in the offices of this campus where former faculty and staff bring their commitment to public higher education to serve our students every day. I'm so proud of that. Your legacy is embedded in all that we do here at this institution. Thank you for developing that culture. On a daily basis, I'm fortunate to have the wisdom and counsel of two former Boston State faculty who serve on my executive staff. They are Associate Chancellor Terry Mortimer and also our Provost, Winston Langley, who's back here with us today. Give those two a round of applause. But I also know that the legacy lives on in each and every one of you who are graduates. In your professional lives and in your community involvement, you bring the knowledge and skills that you learned on Huntington Avenue to so many fields of endeavor. For many, the call to service is one that you embraced in careers in which you dedicated yourselves to improving the quality of life in so many cities and towns in this Commonwealth of Massachusetts and beyond. And so the Education for Service Award recognizes those who have made outstanding contributions in their field. Recipients like the ones that we're going to honor this evening truly embody the college's Education for Service motto and are a vital part of the college's tremendous legacy. I would like to congratulate again all of tonight's award winners. Your accomplishments and your dedication to serve the community and this university bring honor to your alma mater. Finally, I want to express my thanks to those of you that have contributed to the Boston State Scholarship Fund. And I'm also especially pleased to announce that thanks to your generosity, this scholarship fund has received more than $25,000 in gifts, enough to establish a permanent endowed fund to support the University of Massachusetts Boston students. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, you know, there are some people that didn't think we could do that. And you did it. And not only are you did you do it then, you're doing it now, and we appreciate that. Thank you so much. You don't know what it feels like as Chancellor to go out and talk to alumni all over the world and be able to say that not only are you contributing in California, but we have a whole cadre of alumni from Boston State who believe in our work because they understand that they're the foundation of our work. And that's how we connect. So through your gifts to this fund, you not only pay tribute to your alma mater, you help ensure that the future generations of learners will have access to the wonderful opportunity of higher education here at the University of Massachusetts, Boston, Boston's only public research university that's so proud to have a teaching soul that's connected to you. And so thank you for being here tonight and helping us honor Boston State. I encourage you to continue your involvement with the University of Massachusetts, Boston. And as I get out the way, I encourage you to always honor your alma mater and that legacy that started out on 625 Huntington Avenue. And so I'm going to get out the way, and let's give it back to our mistress of ceremony, Carol D'Souza.
To a proud Teachers College of the City of Boston alumna, Marie Fox. For more than 6 decades, you have graduated from, more than 6 decades since you graduated from Teachers College of the City of Boston, you have dedicated considerable professional talents, leadership skills, and voluntary service to the field of education. As a first grade teacher in Boston, Dedham, and Newton schools, you taught generations of 6- and 7-year-olds how to read, write, and understand basic math and science concepts. At a critical time in their formative years, you provided youngsters with a rich and enjoyable learning environment, setting high standards and motivating them to succeed. In recognition of your achievements as an educator, you twice received the Newton Public Schools Award for exemplary teaching. Outside the classroom, you're an active reunion leader for the class of '52, organizing yearly gatherings and keeping your fellow classmates bonded together before and after the merger of Boston State and UMass Boston. To honor the legacy of teacher education preparation that was the hallmark of our alma mater, you spearheaded the establishment of the Boston Teachers College Scholarship. Starting in early 1990s and continuing up to now, you have helped bring together your fellow alumni for the annual scholarship luncheon benefit, raising funds to support future teachers studying at UMass Boston. Thanks to your hard work and persistence, you and your classmates have helped to establish the scholarship just mentioned by the Chancellor, the $450,000 endowed fund, and connected hundreds of alumni from Huntington Avenue and future generations with aspiring educators here at Boston's Public University. Through your outstanding contributions in the field of elementary education and exceptional commitment to your alma mater and teacher education, you personify Boston State College's Education for Service motto and serve as an exemplar of the college's legacy. In recognition of your distinguished service and leadership, the University of Massachusetts Boston is proud to present you with the Boston State College Education for Service Award. Marie.
How you want to do it, Harry? What I also want to do, Harry, is I want to go back and I want to get a picture with Marie's brother. Okay, so we'll come back and get a picture with him as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we walk back and do that?
Sure. Take a walk. I'm sorry, I wasn't, the first part went.
Oh, so you like that camera shot?
Oh, me? No, that's all right, I was letting.
I noticed the provost's camera shot. You camera shot? We have a camera shot provost. Got my crew back here.
Well, I'm not funny like Carol. I have no funny words to say. I am overwhelmed, really, truly, when I heard that my name was being put forward and voted on. And I am truly, I am overwhelmed by the whole thing. I appreciate the people who said that I could do this or receive this. It wasn't just me that they're rewarding me. It's really all the alumni at Boston Teachers College. When I graduated from school in '52, we were the 100th class out of the Boston Teachers College.
Wow.
And my class, the number of my class was 136. I paid $75 my first year and $125 the second year. Mm-hmm. And even then I said 125, I don't know if I can stay here. Mm-hmm. But I did. And of course we got all books, everything was given to us. It was a city school. The teachers we had were superb. Our training was superb. When we got out of school, the principals were practically waiting on the doorstep to take us and hope that we would go to their schools because of the training that we had at Teachers College. Over the years, and at that time, there were about 94,000 students in '52 in the Boston public school system. And every classroom there was really, the head of every classroom in the city was a Boston Teachers College graduate. We were like the training school for the system. And we went and we stayed and worked for them. I think when I started out, I got $11 a day. I thought it was great. And when I was a senior, they would let you go out and do practice teaching. And if you were lucky, it was winter and it would be a bad winter. And they would ask us to substitute. And we could go out because we were that trained, that well-trained. They would let us go out into the schools. And I'll never forget it. I got like a 3-week job over in Brighton, and oh, I was in heaven. You know, here I was a student, and we got that also. But as the years went along, when I graduated, there was no alumni association at Boston Teachers College. And of course, in 52, the beginning, September 52, the state took it over, and it ceased being a city school. And we really kind of forgot that about UMass or anything that had anything to do with it. But we realized that we could use the facilities here after a while for our reunions. And we started 19 years ago with a scholarship. The thought of a scholarship and getting the alumni together. We did. We have luncheons every November. And it's very festive, and we charge a good sum for the ticket for the luncheon. And we now have, as she said, over $450,000. Our first scholarship was for $250. That was the first one, and we thought that was just grand. And we had that money because the state at that time would match our money for every dollar that we collected. If every $2 we collected, the state would give us $1. And that program stopped, but it was really the beginning of our fund. We have, the first one was $250, and the other day, the beginning of November, we gave 2 scholarships for $5,000 each. We're pleased. We're very, very close to giving a third one. I'm sure by next year when we have it, we will give 3 $5,000 scholarships. Our goal when we started out was $500,000, and look how here we are, very close. If anyone would like to give us a check for $50,000, $50,000 would just close it right out. But you know, this will go on. This will be $1 million scholarship, and the purpose of it, all of it, was to keep the name Boston Teachers College alive. When the state took it over, we stopped being Boston Teachers College. It was all the different names that they've used, but it was determined by us that nothing was around that was Boston Teachers College, and we were just determined to make sure that we did not disappear, because as I said earlier, 94,000 students were being taught by Boston Teachers College graduates, and that was something that just could not be dropped, and it isn't dropped, and we're very successful at what we're doing. We're very pleased with what we're doing, and as I said, it will be $1 million scholarship. So I've talked longer than they told me to talk, but get me in front of a microphone. And what?
And you can do whatever you want to do.
No, I don't. I am really passionate about the fact that the name doesn't disappear. Because of the history of all the people that graduated from the school, it shouldn't disappear, and it hasn't. And it was not me. I'm standing here. There are 3 of the ladies that are part of the committee, Mary and Virginia, and there are others. They've all worked with us. It's been an incredible group to work with because we love that school. Everybody loved it, and we knew each other. So we're very grateful for what we were able to do. And I thank you very, very much for this award.
Thank you. To a proud State Teachers College at Boston alumnus, Edward Zaleskas. Elementary school teacher, soldier, college lecturer, director of admissions, president of the Professional Staff Association, ombudsman, academic advisor. These are some of the many positions you have held in a most distinguished career in public education and service to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and our nation. Driven by a dedication to serve others, you have made the mission of access to higher education your life's calling. At Boston State, you taught math and elementary education. A student teacher supervisor, you offered support and guidance to future educators in this most important phase of their professional preparation. Over so many decades, in a myriad of roles, you have exemplified servant leadership. To the aspiring first-generation college student at Boston State, the mature undergraduate finishing a bachelor's degree at night, and the middle-aged mother going back to school to better herself, you have been the go-to person. Meeting their needs has always been your top priority. Known for your undivided attention and wise counsel, you opened the doors of educational opportunity to countless numbers of individuals who sought your assistance. As the first president of the Professional Staff Union here at UMass Boston, you brought the voices of these employees to management and helped advance a work environment to support the mission of the university. Through your outstanding contributions in the fields of public education and labor relations, you personify Boston State College's Education for Service motto and serve as an exemplar of the college's legacy. In recognition of your distinguished service and leadership, the University of Massachusetts Boston is proud to present you with the Boston State College Education for Service Award. Ed, please step forward.
That wasn't me. You asked me. That's a really good. You're the chairman. Congratulations on that.
I'm going to break protocol. I know Carol is the one talking today. But when I came to this university a few years ago now, I've just celebrated my 10th year here. And time really flies. But one of the most rewarding experiences for me has always been to walk on this campus and see this young man working with our students in corners, in rooms, it doesn't matter. Volunteering to do stuff everywhere. And it didn't matter. And so I am so grateful to you for that. Thank you. And you know, I'm so honored that we're able to honor you this evening, man. Thank you.
I don't know who that was. It wasn't me.
Okay.
Hey, that guy was here. I told you it wasn't me.
Uh-oh. One shot Harry.
It's almost like that. Fabulous. Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. First, I'd just like to thank the members of the committee that decided that I was worth mention as a recipient of this award. I didn't realize I was doing that good a job. But honestly, I did what I could at the times that something had to be done. And that's why I heard in the remarks recently here, you're the go-to guy. Yes, it's basically what I was doing was to interpret to those people who needed the help what a college education was and how to go about achieving it. So those were the happy days of my life. I still do some of the work, as people know, and the problem, of course, now is a little bit keeping ahead of all the changes that are occurring in the schools. It's a brand new world, a brand new life. But I think back in maybe the late 60s or the early 70s that the big teaching tool was going to be television. It came out in a flash and then it died. What is happening now is that we're in an era where it's going to be the computer, the internet. These are the things that we now have to learn instead of the reading, the writing, and arithmetic. But I know that we're capable of doing it. I've been around long enough. I know that people that are here and others that I see, I still continue to see people, and everything basically is moving forward. Just recently, I happened to run across an article in the newspaper that our Chancellor has been elected as the chairman of ASQ. That's the American Association of State and Colleges, states and college universities. That indicates the prestige with which this institution is held. That they are the so-called academy, which is often referred to, has a director that knows where the university should be going, and I certainly feel very confident that this university is heading in the right direction, and I hope I can help it as much as I can. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to get the families. To a proud Boston State College alumnus, Michael Taylor. From your early career as a community organizer in the D Street Public Housing Development to your current role as president of the Urban College of Boston, you have dedicated your professional life to improving educational and economic opportunities for the most disadvantaged members of our society. Driven by your tremendous passion for social change, you have applied considerable knowledge and skill in building partnerships to turn around institutions to meet social and labor market needs. In your many achievements, we see the tremendous impact you have made in the lives of those you have served. Thanks to your leadership advocacy, Massachusetts established the first state funding for adult basic education, enabling adults to attain their high school equivalency. At the Boston Private Industry Council, you created Project ProTech, a model school-to-work transition program for Boston public school students, which was later adapted for national use by the Clinton administration. As president of the Benjamin Franklin Institute of Technology, you created model college readiness, dual enrollment, and retention initiatives which boosted student enrollment by 68% and graduation rates by 30%. And during the recent global fiscal crisis, You led Massachusetts Executive Office of Labor and Workforce Development's initiatives to maximize the delivery of critical career services and unemployment benefits to support the Commonwealth's most impacted residents. Today, you serve as president of the Urban College Boston, an independent two-year college recognized for success in providing educational and professional opportunities for diverse and underrepresented individuals in our community. There, you are spearheading the program development and fundraising initiatives to enable these non-traditional college students to access higher education. An active volunteer, you have served as a board member on the Boston Redevelopment Authority, the Boston Children's Museum, and the New England College of Optometry. Through your outstanding contributions in the field of education and workforce development, you personify Boston State's College Education for Service motto and serve as an exemplar of the college's legacy. In recognition of your distinguished service and leadership, the University of Massachusetts Boston is proud to present you the Boston State College Education for Service Award.
There you go. Just like a college president, he took off the glasses, took off the name tag, pulling in the stomach.
Thank you. Carol, we realized by your comments earlier that you were a comedian, but I didn't realize you had such a vivid imagination in your description of my life, but thank you. I want to express my gratitude to you and the other members of your committee for this honor this evening. I want to congratulate my fellow honorees, Bob, who was on my board at the Boston Private Industry Council, Ed, who's responsible for me getting into Boston State College as the admission director, and Marie, who devoted her life to teaching. I'm really humbled when I come to think about literally all of the students that I graduated with, all the fellow graduates who devoted their life to service. And so I'm very humbled by being selected amongst that population. It's also particularly meaningful to me to be receiving this from you, Chancellor Motley, who is my colleague, my friend, and my mentor. And I particularly appreciate that opportunity, getting it from you, but also with the opportunity to extend with you a deeper partnership between the Urban College and the university over the months and the years ahead.
Thank you, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Boston State was accessible and affordable college for a kid like me. I went there to be a history major, and I left as a psychology major because of the incredibly gifted first introduction to psychology teacher I had named Dr. Hoya, and he was just an incredibly gifted man who, by his example, persuaded me to enter the area of psychology and that to become my degree. You know, and I was really, I think, fortunate, like we all were, to have that kind of caliber of teacher throughout my entire tenure at Boston State College. And you know, it was important because it was important to help folks like me navigate through the kind of college experience that we were somewhat unfamiliar with. I wasn't the very best student when I arrived at Huntington Avenue, but I was a much better student when I left, because I felt that during that period, every single day I went to Boston State, I just had this incredibly important gut feeling that somebody cared about me, somebody cared about my success, somebody was going to help me get from here to there. And that's something that we try to emulate at the Urban College today. It was an interesting time to be a student in the late 60s, early 70s. It was an interesting time in this country, and certainly was an interesting time to be on a campus. But I believe the reason why we at Boston State managed to find our way through all of that was because of the fact that we were wedded and we were, I guess, folks who worked almost full or part-time jobs, came from low to middle income families, and we were there for a purpose. The purpose to prepare ourselves for the life of service, as Marie has, and as Ed has, and as Bob has. And I think that allowed us to get through all that chaos of that particular several-year period. And clearly, from the people that are speaking tonight, they have utilized that education for service to others. Let me close with just a description of my favorite poem. It's called The Bridge Builder by Will Allen Drungle. And it's about an older man who is on a journey. And he comes to a chasm. And he crosses the chasm. And when he gets to the other side, he begins to build a bridge going back to where he came from. And passers-by would say to him, "Why are you doing that? You've already crossed the chasm." And he says, "I'm building the bridge for a young man who is following me several miles past, will come to that chasm later today when it's darker and the tide will change, and he'll have difficulty, he'll have challenge getting over that chasm himself. So I'm building the bridge for him." Well, it is clear throughout my life, from the early days of my childhood to this very day, that people have built bridges for me. Not only over the chasms of my life, the challenges of my life, but for the opportunities in my life as well. From my mom and dad to my 7 siblings, my sister Colleen is here with me today. She'll tell you that I was spoiled, but I was not. That's not my reflection of it at all. But I really stood on the shoulders of my sisters and brothers because I had the chance to go on to college. They did not. I had the chance because I happened to have been born at the right time, at the last of 8, when they had to go out and help the family, support the family. When you have 10 people to feed, they went out and supported the family, and they weren't able to get to the opportunities I have. They were far more smarter than I ever was, but I had the chance, by standing on their shoulders, to be able to go to college myself. I had a group of remarkably patient nuns at Gate of Heaven High School who were very patient with me. A very important part of my life was a local Catholic priest named Father Paul White, who was my father really throughout my life. Current, my wife Janet, certainly, and my daughter Sarah, my nephew Tom, who's here, and my sister Colleen, as I mentioned before, were part of that, my life fabric that have allowed me to cross over those chasms and get to those opportunities that I spoke about before. But as my friends, several of whom are here, I'm very proud to say here tonight, as well as the colleagues who I work with, they're responsible for the reason I'm here before you tonight. So really, on their behalf, I accept this award on behalf of the bridge builders of my life. Thank you.
To a proud Boston State College alumnus, Robert Haynes. In a career that has taken you from iron worker in Local 7 to president of the 400,000-member Massachusetts AFL-CIO, you have applied your leadership talent, exceptional skill in relationship building, and passion to a singular cause, improving the quality of life for working families. As president of the State Federation, you orchestrated labor's successes. 3 times you led the way in raising our state's minimum wage, each time making it among the highest in the nation. At the ballot box, you spearheaded the campaign which defeated questions damaging to workers' rights. And in making the political program a top union priority, you directed the efforts to elect and re-elect pro-labor candidates to all levels of public office. A change agent, you transformed the culture of the labor movement, encouraging members to be more community-oriented, cultivating young leadership, and forging connections between public institutions and union members. Knowing firsthand the value of your own higher education, you greatly expanded the Massachusetts AFL-CIO Scholarship Program, which awards over $1 million annually in college scholarships to children of union workers. A former vice chair of the University of Massachusetts Board of Trustees, you were a thoughtful leader who harnessed the goodwill of organized labor to support cancer research at the University of Massachusetts Medical School. Founded in 1999 with a goal of raising $5 million, the Massachusetts AFL-CIO Walk to Cure Cancer grew to include upwards of 15,000 union working families and generated more than $7 million to create the Massachusetts AFL-CIO Cancer Research Center at the Worcester campus. Active in the community, you have served on numerous non-boards, contributing your time and talent to organizations such as the Massachusetts Workforce Investment Board, the Boston Private Industry Council, the Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, just to name a few. Your many awards and recognitions, including the University of Massachusetts Boston Chancellor's Medal and an honorary doctorate from the University of Massachusetts Medical School, among others, are evidence of the deep respect and admiration you have earned from institutions across our Commonwealth. Through your outstanding contributions in the labor movement and your exemplary commitment to civic engagement, you personify Boston State College's Education for Service motto and serve as an exemplar of the college's legacy. In recognition of your distinguished service and leadership, the University of Massachusetts Boston is proud to present you the Boston State College Education for Service Award.
That's pretty awesome.
That's it? Looks good.
We've been here before, haven't we?
One more?
Sure.
I get one.
Thank you. Well, Carol, thank you for that. It's pretty astonishing to hear all that stuff. My colleagues in the labor movement have been telling me for the past 2 years, when you're gone, you're gone. So it's pretty nice to know that still a few people around that appreciate you. And it is stunning, and I have to begin, Mike, you and I must have been brothers. I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and nobody ever expected anything good of me as well. And Marie, my wife, Mary Beth, who is here, who has supported me and loved me all these years, spent 35 years teaching in elementary school in Cambridge, so I know what you have accomplished and the lives you have touched. So congratulations to you as well. And Ed, you've been my hero for a long time. You're a wonderful, wonderful guy. That this whole notion of education for service, I've never thought of Boston State that way, but when I think about all my friends and colleagues that have gone to Boston State, and particularly those of us who have refused the UMass degree in lieu of a Boston State degree, the pride is overwhelming. And Marie, I hear you talk about the Teachers College, and we were just an extension of that. And I was privileged to sit on the University Board of Trustees for a number of years, and I number that just right behind my service that I was allowed to provide at the Massachusetts AFL-CIO for 24 years is the most meaningful opportunity that I have had in my life to help all the kinds of young people that the 3 of you have talked about. I thank my wife, my mother in particular, inspired me and always made me feel like I really could be something in my life. It was terrific. I mean, having 5 brothers and 2 sisters and 100% disabled veteran dad, and to go to school with the kind of support that the government provided, to think about the Great Society, think about the 50s and the 60s and the post-war era, and you think about public housing. I lived in a project, and I'm proud to say that I lived in a project. A lot of great people that lived in the projects that I grew up in. To think that my education at UMass Boston was subsidized by the Great Society. I didn't pay a heck of a lot. I didn't even pay as much as you did, Marie, when I went there. the aid to families with dependent children and the veterans benefits that came to my house because my dad was disabled allowed us to live in dignity in a very decent housing. And Mike, to follow your trail, to be beaten mercilessly by the nuns at St. Mary's. I was even afraid to criticize him there because I know what will happen to me. But I guess my whole life, and the lesson that I tried to give my son, who's here, Joseph, and his friend Colleen, the lesson that I have tried to give my whole life and everything that I've done is that you have to give back, you have to pay back. I am not standing here because of any great accomplishment of my own. And the bridge analogy, Michael, is wonderful. I mean, I've been carried on the shoulders of so many people in my life, in the labor movement, and the mentors that I have had, and as I said, my family and friends or whatever, to get you here. I'm glad that you referenced the scholarship. It was $90,000 at the state AFL-CIO when I took over, and it's $1 million today. Every year, $1 million worth of money goes into the pockets of kids like I was. I don't know how many years ago, a long time ago. And the cancer walk. I don't think there isn't anybody in this room I know that has not been touched by cancer. And to have the totality of the labor movement in this Commonwealth of Massachusetts walk around Lake Quinsigamon, 15,000 men and women walk around Lake Quinsigamon and raise, $5 and $6 and $7, $800,000 a year for 13, 14 years now. And the number is significantly higher than the 7 that was referenced on my tenure. It's up $10, $11 million. To have some scientist or researcher on a bench at the Massachusetts AFL-CIO Cancer Center. I brag to my brothers and sisters around the country about the fact that it's named after the labor movement. It's named after the men and women that do the work, that toil to try to create the cures for folks that are troubled by cancer. And you walk in that walk, and that people memorializing their mother or their dad, or walking along somebody that was cured. That's education for service. That's what we're all about at Boston State College, and I didn't come to understand that until I stood up here today, and I met my colleagues and friend, and I honor you all for who we are and what we have accomplished in our society over these years, and I hope we can continue to create the great society for the men and women and young people that come behind us, because our job is to serve because we were served. Thank you so much. Thanks, ladies.
It's not really a vibrator. I'm sorry, Angela, you weren't in the room for the original reference, so I'll explain later. In our world of fast forward and immediate satisfaction, it's good to take a bit of time to sit back and celebrate in real time with our awardees tonight. Of course, that means my material had to take a real hit. I still have 4 minutes that you took of mine, so I added that on. Casey reviewed the material I was going to use on Monday, but I threw that stack out and rewrote it. I'm only kidding. So I brought along my fast forward. John Gesso, this is going to present a bit of a challenge to you as you try to caption this tonight, but that's all right. Because I promised not to extend this evening beyond the time given to me, and because some of you took more than the 2 minutes that you were given. Who gives anybody 2 minutes, Marie, anyway? I never heard of such a thing. I wanted to review some of the things I said last year in my acceptance speech, available on DVD from John Gesso, but we have to fast forward that part too. I wanted to give Jerry Burke the opportunity to retell some of the jokes that didn't go over well last year, But he said I just didn't understand them. So you get the buzz too, Jerry. I wanted to tell you about one time when I was getting my coffee at Spar's, but we don't have time for that. I wanted to tell you about moving day for me from Huntington Avenue to the harbor, but we don't have time for that. They did measure my office. It came in and measured. I knew I had had it once they were in measuring around my desk. And then they moved my furniture up to the top level of the tower building, but then somehow that disappeared, never made it over here. Anyway, how many of you remember the day that Jim Morris planned the funeral for somebody who was still alive and well? I know that some of you in the room do that, but you're not laughing because you're afraid, because you still work here. I don't. I'm okay. Retirement has many benefits. I wanted to say how much the Chancellor has missed me over the past year, but he said that already. But anyway, my unused material can be purchased from my agent. One of the four of you will be up here next year doing this. So you might want to buy a few. Some of the material was pretty good. No one can say that I held up this ceremony. I am proud to have been the MC this evening, to give honor to the best of the best, to witness the achievements of the Education for Service awardees. My heartfelt congratulations to all of you. To Marie, as a former teacher myself of first grade, I also share with you the joy you felt in teaching reading to those little ones, and appreciate the hard work and skill you needed to be so successful in your efforts. 42 years in first grade. I wanted to tell you some of my experiences, but I'm restricted. Ed, as a former administrator who benefited from your leadership and your friendship in the halls of Boston State, at the union leadership table, and as parents together at the Boston Latin School. Congratulations to you as well. To Michael, as a 35-year practitioner in TRIO programs and other programs for non-traditional and disabled students, I know what dedication that requires. You are certainly a leader in those fields. Congratulations to you. And Bob, as the daughter of a former national vice president of SEIU, I know what it's like to march in picket lines and buck the system and fight for the rights of the underprivileged. So congratulations to you as well. I congratulate you along with your family members, your friends, your nominators, your colleagues, all members of the Boston State College family. I thank you, Chancellor, for, as I said earlier, your ongoing support of all of us. Thank you very much to the Boston State Committee, sometimes unrecognized, but always in there, meeting all the time, taking nominations, working toward continuing the legacy of Boston State College. Thanks to Boston Cafe and Catering for tonight's food, and special thanks to Casey for all that she does. As was said tonight in many ways, we live with our memories. We have friends and colleagues who become family. Please share your photos and memorabilia. You were seeing some photos earlier, and John's going to put them back on once we complete this program. Please give us your donations of your photos and your memorabilia from all of the years. We want to keep that alive and well. Next year, as was said, the Boston Teacher College Endowed Scholarship will be given for the first time, and we are very happy that that will happen next year. Please have coffee, dessert, the bar is still open. Enjoy the photos. Good night, safe travel this evening. See you all next year.